Good evening, Hawks fans, and welcome back to Atlanta Sports District. I am your host, Russell Spence, coming to you directly after a 115-104 victory over the Brooklyn Nets. This was an interesting game, good to get a win, but we desperately struggled in this game, and so we're going to get into what all went wrong and kept us from really just being able to run away with this game, and then we'll talk about kind of the problems that the Brooklyn Nets have and the reason why they were so unable to withstand the end of this game. So, firstly, we're going to talk about the defense. The defense was actually pretty okay. We made an adjustment to our starting lineup and subsequently the rotation that allowed for less time with Kispert, McCollum, and Jock Landale on the floor at the same time. Something that we've been talking about here on the podcast and a lot of people have been talking about all over the place is keeping those lineups from happening often. When we move CJ into the starting lineup, this allows Risha to be coming off the bench and being able to play good defense alongside Landale and or Kispert according to who's in the game. Now they then did take Zach out of the game more to put Kispert in because they gave some of Kispert's minutes to Gabe Vincent, who also I thought played very wonderful defense. In my opinion, if you're going to play Gabe Vincent, just don't play Kispert because Gabe Vincent gives you more of an offensive kind of engine. He's more of a point guard, does more of the point guard things, and he is much better defensively. So I like Kispert. I don't, a lot of people in Hawks media are not super high on Kispert. I do like him. I don't think that he is currently being put into a position where he can succeed because he is a 2 only, and we keep playing him against 3s, and then he really cannot guard that position. He struggles to guard 2s, but against 3s, he is very, very bad defensively. And so, in my opinion, if you're going to make the decision to play the better defensive player in Gabe Vincent, you can't play Kispert. And so I felt like that hindered Zach's ability to play as much as he should have. Also, I thought that there should have been more minutes with Mo Gay. I thought Mo played very well, but him and Zach next to one another playing defense in that second unit was very difficult for Brooklyn to score against. And moving McCollum into the starting lineup actually gave more defensive responsibility to Jalen and Onyeka and made them be a little bit more locked in. And I thought both of their defensive games were vastly improved tonight or this afternoon. And that, to me, is a big step forward in the right direction as well. I think a little bit they were like, well, we don't need to worry about the defense because, Dyson and Zach are out there playing great defense, and we're just going to kind of, take a couple plays off. I don't know if they actually think that way, but that's the way it came across. Is like they were more locked in when they knew they had to back up CJ. And that's weird to me because you would hope that just another person would not have this problem where you're like, why are you just taking plays off? But it seems that we had that problem with Trey, and now we're having that problem with Jalen and a little bit on Onyeka as well. And so I would really, really hope that we can get that sorted out. Moving to the offense desperately struggled tonight. It was not a good offensive performance. We did end up scoring 115 points, but really that only came from a heavy onslaught that happened at the end of the fourth quarter where the Brooklyn Nets fell apart. We are desperately struggling to get open looks in the paint because the paint is very clogged with certain players on the floor, that being Dyson and that being Mo. I really like Mo, but if he is playing on the floor with him and Zach and Vincent, who's not shooting the ball super wonderfully right now, and Kispert, any of these players are on the floor, it is concerning to me that we're really unable to get open looks in the paint at all. Because what's happening is other teams are putting a decent to good defender on either Dyson or Mo, and then whenever someone attacks the paint, They just automatically know I'm the guy who triggers and I leave, and I go double team the ball now. And when we kick it to Dyson especially, this shot looks awful. I mean, Mo only took, I believe, one shot the whole game. Yeah, he was over 1 from 3, but Dyson was really, really bad from the perimeter tonight. Was unable to score the ball with great efficiency. It's becoming a problem, and I keep saying, please just get in the gym. You're a better player than this. But tonight, it didn't end up biting us in terms of win-loss. It just bit us in this being an easy win. This is a team we should have been able to beat easily. And yet it was very difficult and came down to the wire of us having to make like a huge surge in the fourth quarter. So let's get into the player by player. I think that the rotation was very interesting today with all of this. We played what looks to be a 10-man rotation, and it was, skim minutes from a lot of the bench. So first we're going to talk about Mo. Defensively, Mo was an absolute maniac tonight. He had 10 points, 10 minutes, no points on only one shot. He had an assist, he had a steal, and finished the game +3. He was the only bench player in the positive, in plus minus. Mo was, like I said, just a menace defensively. The offense did hinder some things, but he was nowhere near the problem with the bench production tonight. It was very, 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 very bad around him when it came to the bench, especially offensively. And I keep saying that if you're going to play Mo, which I really want us to, a really good player to play around Mo is Jalen. If you play Jalen at the 3 and he's able to make the offense tick, you can then have really, really amazing defensive output with Mo and very good offensive output. Like if you put out there CJ, Naw, Jalen, Mo, Landale, that lineup can score, and Mo will make it defend well. And you can also look and say, Naw will help it defend well. And Jalen hopefully will be locked in and be able to help it defend well. And Landale is pretty decent at defending the rim, and it will rebound. There are things that lineup would work, but for some reason, we are absolutely petrified of playing Jalen at the 3 any minutes at all. When I would be looking and saying, you have a 6'10 super freak athlete. He can play the 3. He handles the ball well enough to play the 3. He shoots the ball well enough to play the 3. He can defend threes. I would rather have a giant 3 than a normal-sized 4. If you can have a dude who's ginormous, think about like if the other team had to put like a Corey Kispert-sized player on the floor and he had to guard Jalen. Like that's his matchup now. He would barrel through him like a bull in a china shop because he's just too big. I would be looking to do that. I would be looking to play Mo and Jalen together a lot more. Now, moving on to the other bench players. Gabe Vincent played 11 minutes. He had 3 points on 1 of 2 shooting, 1 of 2 from 3. His one missed 3 was at the end of the shot clock. It was a hospital pass that he had no chance of making. It was ridiculous. But he had a rebound, 3 assists with only 1 turnover. And he finished -8. The Gabe Vincent experience was not the problem tonight. I thought Gabe actually played very well. He had a couple of possessions where he really set up the offense very, very well for success. And the defense was overall quite good. It wasn't perfect. He's still pretty small, but he makes a positive impact on the defensive end, which is all you can really ask for from a player of his stature. I really think that he probably deserves more minutes than Corey right now. And I think that kind of plays out when you look at the plus minuses and the effect they have on the floor. So speaking of that, we're going to move to Corey Kispert. Corey played 13 minutes. He had 9 points on 4 of 5 shooting. You go, man, he must have been playing great. He had a turnover with no rebounds and no assists. He finished -16, which was the worst on the entire bench unit. Again, he went 4 for 5, played awesome offensively, And he was so bad on defense, it did not matter. He got his doors blown off when he was on the floor. To me, I would much rather have the guy who makes the offense be kind of in rhythm, does the point guard things. If somebody's got a mismatch, he'll find them. If somebody's open, he'll always pass it to them. He can make a three every once in a while, and he will play defense. Please play the guys who will play defense. I do not get doing these lineups that are just so negative defensively. I mean, if we're talking about it, they didn't score a single point for like the last 5 minutes of the game. If they just score 15 points, and that we give up 119 points to the worst team in basketball, that to me goes, yeah, they are dumb and they're young and they started taking stupid shots, but the process that we had was also bad. We were on track to give up a lot of points to a bad basketball team. That, to me, I start going, well, I'm sounding like a broken record. This is wonderful. Every game, I talk about how we give up a ton of points to a bad team. That's great. And it just continues and continues and continues. Even though it was better tonight, the lineups weren't as negative defensively, but they could be even better if you just said, we never play a 10-man rotation. We always play a 9-man rotation. We want to play Gabe Vincent because of his defensive ability. That means Corey's the dude who falls out the rotation. That's okay. It's okay to say we're paying a guy $16 million and he's not going to play because he's not getting it done. That's fine. But you have to have the gumption to make that decision. Now, moving on, we're going to talk about Jock Landale. Jock had a very interesting game. He played 16 minutes. He had 17 points on 6 of 11 shooting, 3 of 3 from 3. He had 6 rebounds, an assist, and a turnover. He dominated in his first stint. He was unbox-outable. He was getting every offensive rebound. He was making threes. He was attacking. And then in his second stint, he wasn't nearly as good, but he still had a very positive offensive impact. The defense was a little rough, but he did have the second best bench plus minus behind Mo, who had a positive one. But he was -6. We played very well in his minutes. The defense around him was quite bad at certain points, and so that made it very difficult to win his minutes. But he still played very, very well in terms of what we need him to do. We need him to make some shots and spread the floor. We need him to be an absolute dog on the glass, and we need him to do his best to protect the rim. There were multiple times where they forced switches that he cannot allow to happen, like getting CJ McCollum on their center or getting Naw placed on their center. You cannot let that switch happen. You have to fight the urge to switch. For some reason, that's been a problem so far in Landale's tenure here. I know that he's been playing a lot with Memphis, and Memphis for years has had a hyper switching mentality. We're going to have to get him out of that because we don't switch as much. We play up the touch, but we don't switch nearly as much as other teams do. But overall, I thought he played very well. And to the last guy off the bench, Zachary Richase played 20 minutes, not enough. He had 7 points on 3 of 7 shooting, 1 of 3 from 3. He had 1 rebound, no assists with 2 turnovers. Not a very good assist-to-turnover ratio. And finished the game -9. I thought he came out looking very aggressive, not looking very happy that he was taken out of the starting lineup. He's not been playing super well. That's well known. But the defense still has been very, 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 very good. He is lacking confidence right now, and that's very evident in the way he's playing. But I don't really worry about his long-term future as a good asset for this team. Now, I will say that it's not like a super fireable offense to move CJ into the starting lineup and to have Zach coming off the bench. I do think that it helps the rotations a good bit, but like in terms of being able to not have to put such negative defensive lineups on the floor. But if you're going to lean into that decision, you also need to lean into the decision of we're going to continue to make that second unit's defense better by not playing Corey. You have to make those, like if you're going to go, we're going the defense route, we're going to try to have 48 minutes of really good defensive play. And because of that, we need Zach coming off the bench to help the defensive unit off the bench. If that's what you're going to do, you cannot seriously say that and then pull a move where you play Corey Kispert the amount that he played tonight. You just can't do it. Now, moving to the starters, we're going to start with Dyson Daniels. So Dyson had a very rough game offensively. He played 33 minutes. He had 7 points on 3 of 8 shooting, 0 of 2 from 3. He had 10 rebounds and 8 assists. The defense was fantastic with 3 steals. He finished plus 11. He's still a very valuable player. The offense is so bad and it clogs so many things up because of the way that other teams can guard us with him on the floor. And it is concerning that when you play a better team, they will exploit that and make winning against a very good defensive team like Oklahoma City. Jalen can't just barrel his way to the rim against 3 dudes against Oklahoma City. That is concerning. That means that we would never beat them because our best player would not be able to get to his spots and do what he needs to do. And we've talked about how there's been a lack of production in terms of efficiency from Jalen. And that's kind of understandable because he's got 2 dudes going at him every single time he drives to the paint. It becomes unacceptable to have that lack of spacing on the floor. And so Dyson just has to play better and has to shoot the ball better. And I've talked about this before, but when you're trying to improve a jump shot, you can't just shoot the ball more. That's like if you have a math problem and you do the math problem wrong over and over and over again, but you practice it thousands of times. When you come to your test for your math problem, you're going to fail that test. Dyson Daniels right now is plugging in the wrong formula to get the right answer. And so he's failing the test. He has to improve his hand placement. He has to improve where his elbow is. He has to be more on balance. He looks like he's like falling over forward when he shoots. He has to get better rotation on the ball. There has to get better arc. There has to be more wrist flick. All these things that are like, if you go and watch the greatest shooters on planet Earth, they all do these things. He is doing none of it and then wondering why he's missing shots. You have to fix the process of shooting before you can make a good grade on the test. So go fix the process and then do the right process thousands of times and you'll make a great grade on the test. But that is a lot of work that he currently has not done yet. And that's the reason why the shot is not improved. So I would like to see that moving forward. I know it's not going to happen overnight, but I would like to see something change. You can't just have the shot looking the exact same for multiple seasons. Nothing has changed in terms of the components. And then be like, I'm working on it. I don't believe you. Next, we're going to talk about CJ McCollum. CJ played 32 minutes. He had 16 points on 5 of 12 shooting, 3 of 7 from 3. He had 8 rebounds, 4 assists with 3 turnovers. Not a great turnover assist margin, but he did at least have 4. He had a steal and finished the game plus 26. So offensively, he was very, very helpful tonight. And defensively, we were not massacred by his problems. Granted, I do think that's a little bit because we could just put him on their not so good Noah Clowney or Drake Powell or one of these guys who's not really going to take the game over, and he's fine. But against a team that doesn't have a guy you can hide him on, I'm a little concerned about having him as the full-time starter and having to help him as much as we'll need to help him defensively full-time. Now, I know that the metrics so far say that we are a very good defensive team with that starting lineup on the floor. But again, I think that's more about locking in from Jalen and Onyeka than it is about CJ McCollum actually playing good defense, because his defense has been literally pitiful all year long. Next, we're going to talk about Onyeka Okongwu. So Onyeka played 32 minutes. He had 13 points on 5 of 7 shooting, 1 of 2 from 3. He had 11 rebounds, only 1 assist with 2 turnovers, but did finish with 2 blocks and finished the game plus 17. So Onyeka was very good tonight. I will say this is a team that is not super great down low. I'm not a Claxton guy, and I am not a Day'Ron Sharpe guy. They're both very extremely flawed players. Claxton, in terms of his ability to be a paint protecting center, he's so thin and gets bodied and pushed around a lot. And you saw that with Landale and Onyeka tonight. And then Day'Ron Sharpe with his lack of side-to-side foot speed and tremendously awful offensive play. He is pitiful offensively. He missed multiple dunks tonight. I mean, so yes, Onyeka did what he was supposed to, and he destroyed them tonight in his minutes. Played extremely well, but I don't think we're out here saying that destroying the Brooklyn Nets post-game. I mean, Danny Wolf, Nick Claxton, and Day'Ron Sharpe are not exactly the guys that I would want to be starting my team with in terms of post-play. I do like Danny Wolf's long-term future as an off-the-bench scoring option, but I am not sitting here thinking that he's going to make a huge difference stopping somebody like Jalen or somebody like Onyeka. And Onyeka really made a huge impact tonight, especially defensively, because he was able to roam off of those players. And I thought he played very, very, very well. Next, we're going to talk about Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So Naw played 35 minutes. He had 17 points on 4 of 12 shooting, 3 of 9 from 3. He had 3 rebounds, 6 assists with only 1 turnover, and finished the game plus 29. He had 2 steals. I mean, his defense was fantastic tonight. He was making life really difficult for a lot of Brooklyn's guards. He is, when he is able to make a positive impact offensively, like he scored 17 points on 12 shots, not exactly amazing efficiency, but definitely acceptable efficiency. And he made a very positive impact passing with 6 assists, only 1 turnover. When he's able to make that positive of an impact offensively and then play the defense he played, where he was hounding and harassing all night long, that to me is like A+ game. It pressed itself out in the plus minus. We were way better with him on the floor tonight. And I look at Naw and say, this is the kind of under control game that if he gives us an under control offensive game like this every night, he will be an all-star level player. That doesn't mean that he will make all-star teams, because I'm not sure he would even put up the same kind of numbers he's been putting up all year. But he would be kind of in that Derek White mold, where it's like Derek White's only averaging 17, and everybody in the NBA goes, yeah, but he's that dude. He helps you win. And that is what Nickeil Alexander-Walker can give us, and I think it's really huge. I do think he's, very overtaxed right now. We're putting a lot of responsibility on him, but he's living up to the billing and playing very well. And so I've been very, very pleased with what I've seen from him pretty much all season, but especially lately. And lastly, we're going to talk about Jalen. So Jalen played 38 minutes. He had 26 points on 11 of 22 shooting, 0 of 3 from 3. He had 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 turnovers. Not great turnover assist ratio, and had 5 fouls. But did finish the steal and a block, and finished the game plus 8. He was pretty inefficient tonight, but during the fourth quarter run where we kind of stormed back and then stormed on ahead and won the game, he was completely and totally unstoppable. He was a lot of the catalyst for what was going well. And so I think that he kind of had to mentally work through the lack of spacing, that he was just like, I'm just going to keep barreling through and they're going to foul me. And they had had one, probably should have been a block, was called a charge, or else he would have even more been taking over. Really just amazing stuff from Jalen, especially in that fourth quarter. Great, great play. And at the end of the day with Jalen, he gives you so much. He passes the ball, he rebounds the ball, he When he's locked in, he plays good defense. He scores at all three levels. He's such a good player. And so I, am very, very happy for Jalen Johnson and the player he's turned into. I saw a thing today that was like, this player's 22, and this player's 23, and this player's 24, and this player's 25. The league's in good hands. And Jalen was listed on those like maybe 10 guys that they were like, he's one of the next ones. And I agree. He is one of the next ones. He's playing like that. And so just keep it up. And hopefully we can continue to put winning rosters around you that help lean into the defense that isn't exactly his strong suit. Again, I think that's the big thing that we need to understand is like Jalen will make the offense click. Let's make other people that are playing that are helping the defense click because that's not Jalen's best asset. So moving forward, we have our next game Tuesday against the Washington Wizards. They are also very bad, 16-39. And then our next game after that is also against the Washington Wizards. So please, let's take care of business against teams that we can easily beat. We are much better than these teams. Let's beat them. Let's prove the fact that we are much better than these teams. So, all that being said, like, comment, and subscribe here on YouTube. Hit me up on all the socials with any comments or questions you have. I'm on Twitter, Blue Sky, Reddit, Instagram mostly, but I do have all the other ones. Shoot me a message of all your thoughts, and hopefully we can continue to have some decent form and be running a more hopefully above 500, get into the playoffs. Let's, as the Hawks fan base, let's support the guys no matter what happens. I do think that there were some concerning signs tonight, but we did get a win. We did pull out the victory, and so there's nothing you can say more than it's a W in the stat sheet. That's the good news. The bad news, there were some things to clean up, but it was a W in the stat sheet. So, all that being said, I hope you have a great day.